concerns with people talking about catching something from the casualty. You know, if they're open wounds or whatever, there's blood. Hello and welcome to our first session on how to be a prepared bystander. Today we're going to talk about first aid kits and the contents of first aid kits, and we're going to start backwards. We're going to start with looking at what sort of injuries are you going to be treating with what sort of kit to then determine what goes into the kit. So for instance, for your home kit, you might have a lot of band-aids and you might actually spread them around the house, as I do, all over the place, because I know that I could be anywhere when I cut myself. And you might have quite a number of M-bags. I don't know if you know that these were designed by a paramedic, and they're really great for chucking into, called an emesis bag. I hope that paramedic made a lot of money out of that, because these are the best things. And if you've got family who tend to get sick, they're really great ways to capture the sick. Sorry, rabbited on about M-bags for a moment there. But if you're going to go camping to snakebite country, then you're going to want to be prepared with your roller bandages, your 15 centimetre roller bandages, which we'll get to as we go through, because the pressure mobilisation for snakebite treatment. But since we're going to be focusing on road crashes, then we're going to be considering broken bones, some cuts, maybe small bleeds, maybe major bleeds, along with a variety of things in it or not in it, etc. So we'll also go through a little bit of first aid treatment as we go through the contents of the kit, because there's no point having a kit if you don't know how to use the items in the kit. So what we're going to do is, if you want to grab your first aid kit so you can go through it with us, you can do that. We'll just sit here and wait for you. Or you could pause, go get your kit, come back, watch us again. And stop and start me whenever you feel you need to. Okay, so let's start with ready-made kits. So you can buy a ready-made kit, really great, because it's got a bare minimum, a starting point of what goes into a kit. Don't just buy a kit, for instance a motorist kit, and think, yep, that's good, everything's hunky-dory with that. You might need to add things, because especially gloves are going to come at a bare minimum, 1 or 2 pairs. And we'll talk about stocking up on some items. So if you get a ready-made kit, you can do that and then just build on from there. Or you could Google first aid kits and look at their contents and then create your own. In creating your own, which is great, you've got to find a good container to put your kit into that suits, if it's a car kit, then it'll might be larger than if it was on your push bike or your motorbike. Or your scooter, and so you need to consider that, where are you going to be putting the first aid kit. But to purchase the individual items can be quite costly. Like to buy a kit, you're probably looking upwards of $150, $200 for a well-fitted kit, like a motorist kit, something like that. But if you bought all the items at a pharmacy, then it can quite add up a lot as well. There are online sites that you can get supplies, a lot of hunting and trying to find the right things and so forth. So a ready-made kit is a great starting point, but it's not the end point. So if you haven't got one, purchase a kit, but then watch this video again going through what's in it and what do you need to add to it. This one is actually my car kit. This is the one that I keep in the car, which is a backpack. And I designed that specifically so that if I got out of my car to go to a road crash, put the backpack on, and I've got free hands, one of which to call 000 for the ambulance. So if a backpack works for you, and you'll see I've gotten quite strategic in bagging up all the items and labelling them as they go into that kit according to wounds and so forth. So that's my car kit. I do have, this one is the house kit. It was a family first aid kit when I bought it, and it has the bare basics, but I know where that lives in the family room, so I can access that quickly. This one, a friend gave me the container. It was a workplace kit. It's one of those old design ones where it's got a little hook you hang it on the wall. If you've got a workplace kit, it should never be locked with a padlock because you can't access it very easily. But it's a nice sturdy container. I've had it for probably 30 years and may have been in the workplace for longer than that. So that's what I've got, just because I'm a little bit pedantic about my first aid kits and my supplies. But you need to know what you have and where it is, so when you need it, you can easily access it. You don't want people bleeding to death whilst you're hunting around for supplies to control the bleed. In the car, so as I said, this is the one I use in my car. It actually, an earlier car, it used to be in the boot, and I remember having to stop, get out, go to the boot, get my kit to go to help. Now it lives behind the passenger seat, so it's easy for me to reach, and I don't have backseat passengers, so it's easier. And it also doesn't look like much if anybody's looking in my windows wanting to break into my car. But that's where I keep it, behind the passenger seat, so I can easily grab that out and go to an incident if I need to. Okay, so when we're talking about the purpose of the kit, we're going to talk road crashes specifically in this film, but you can apply the principles I'm talking about to any kit that you're going to have if you're going one around the home, if you're going camping, etc. The car kit would probably be larger than a motorcyclist kit. I don't assume you'd have a lot of space on a motorcycle to put a kit. You might have some bare basics, triangular bandages, roller bandages, gloves, in a kit that goes on a motorcycle or a push bike. I think I've seen really little ones sitting under the seat of a push bike, and so forth. So you need to consider where is that kit going to be, and therefore what size are you going to have. Okay, so then we want to consider the injuries in a road crash that we might treat. So when we're talking road crashes, we're talking cars by themselves into poles or trees, cars into cars, buses, trucks, vans, motorcyclists, pedestrians, push bike cyclists, electric cyclists, scooters, anyone with that. All right, so that's what we're referring to when we talk about a crash. So in a road crash, we would be considering that there may be some broken bones, there may be some bleeding wounds, there might be slow bleeds, there might be spurting bleeds. Often with road crashes we think of spinal injuries, certainly spinal injuries, but there isn't a lot that we can do other than instruct them to lay still, support their head if they're seated in a car, support them up if they're on the ground, support their head where it is, and leave the management of the spinal injury for paramedics, medical aid to look at and consider. So the first thing is, when we're talking first aid kits, we want to talk personal protection equipment. You may have heard the term PPE. You'd recall under the primary survey, D for dangers, DRSABCD, D for dangers. After we've assessed the area for dangers, the next danger is to us in terms of infection from the casualty, but the casualty is the one with the open wounds. They're probably more prone to infection. Yes, it's not a life threat, it'll get dealt with later, but if you can prevent infection by wearing gloves and other personal protection equipment, then that would be of benefit to the casualty. Now, one of the things when I was doing my research on this project, one of the main concerns was people talking about catching something from the casualty, their open wounds and whatever, there's blood, all those sorts of things. And so if you have your personal protective equipment available, then you don't have to think twice about it. And the first thing you probably think of is gloves. Now, your ready-made kits, as I said before, may come with a minimal amount of pairs of gloves, 1 or 2 pairs. If you consider that not everybody is prepared at a road crash, and there might be one kit, your kit, and 2 or 3 patients, casualties, you may need to supply other people for their help that they're providing, and so more supplies. Box of gloves. Let me show you my box of gloves. So I would suggest that you stock up on a box of gloves. I'll give you upside down, and I would recommend the nitrile gloves. because that protects you from latex and then from latex, and there's no worries about latex or the powder in the latex. So nitrile are generally the gloves that are used in medical aid these days. So what I do is I get a box of gloves and I buy those little snack packs, you know, those little snack packs, lunch snack packs. This one's 15 centimetres by 9 centimetres, and I'll put 2 pairs of gloves into each little packet. And then I'll have them in a number of different parts of the kit. With this one with multiple compartments, it'll be in doesn't matter where I look, I'm going to find gloves. And so yeah, and then if you've got a box of 100 pieces, which is 50 pairs of gloves, or a couple of boxes stored at home, it's easy to replenish. You know, the amount of times that you're going to come across a road crash hopefully is pretty minimal. If you look at your history and how many you've already come across in my lifetime, which isn't short, half a dozen, maybe 10, if I sat down and thought about the number of incidents that I've come across. And so you might not have to stock up well, but you want to have supplies that you don't have to go shopping for, just in case the next accident's only around the corner. Okay, now the next piece of personal protection might be eye protection from spurting blood. So it's usually the spurting blood we consider that. You will have seen paramedics arrive, or even hospitals having protective eye gear. Now, when I needed to get mine, I was suggested Bunnings. I forgot that I actually had several, but I bought these at Bunnings for about $12. I need the larger ones to go over the glasses, and they certainly go over the glasses, and there's elastic, and they're not worried that they're going to fall off every time I look down. Whether they're going to steam up or not is another question. But then when I went through my kits, so now I'm steaming up, I went through my kits, I found several of these pairs. Well, they don't fall off either. So there are other types that you can get. Let me show you those. So that's you can get those from nursing sites, nursing e-nurse website, and that's the Bunnings pair. And if it doesn't cause you any trauma, the other thing you could consider is having a stash of masks. I know we're moved away from COVID now, but if you've got some masks around the house that you could have those in your kit, again, I put them into little placky bags, put them in the kit so they're available if you are concerned about breathing over your casualty or inhaling their exhale, or being in close proximity to them. So that's just a box of masks. Okay, let's have a look. So that's the basics of the PPE, or personal protective equipment. Gloves, absolutely gloves as a bare minimum. Eye protection in case there's spurting blood, or otherwise you just have to sort of treat it from a distance like this. And face masks if you have a concern about airborne germs. All right, so now let's take a look at bandages. Okay, so when we're talking broken bones or bleeding wounds, my go-to are triangular bandages and roller bandages. And you'll see from my little bag here, one of my larger bags, got a big variety of roller and triangular bandages. And so when I was mentioning earlier the snake bite kit, if you're going somewhere in snake country, your 15 centimetre roller bandages. This is a very punchy type bandage, probably not so great for pressure mobilisation, but that's your 15 centimetre roller bandage. You can get stronger ones than that. These are like stronger ones, but this is a 10 centimetre roller bandages. What else have we got in here? Another 10 centimetres roller bandage, and probably in my other kit I'll have the little finger bandages, the smaller ones. Oh, there's a bit more of a robust crepe bandage, 15 centimetres. You can tell I like my roller bandages. Now your roller bandages are great because they'll secure a pad onto a bleeding wound. If it's a fractured forearm and you're immobilizing it to a splint, a roller bandage can be good as long as you don't go over the tender, swollen area of the fracture. But my favorite is the triangular bandage. Okay, so with a triangular bandage, whatever a roller bandage can do, a triangular bandage can do better. But don't tell the roller bandages that. Now this particular material is not great material. It might be alright for a collar and cuff sling. If you don't know how to apply a sling, please do not attempt to do it in an emergency situation. So there will be some videos later on application of slings. I'm aware in first aid courses it is rare to be taught how to do a sling. They just don't bother anymore or improvise. Sorry, I'm a little bit pedantic about slings, so I will be teaching you how to do that, giving you the opportunity to film yourself practicing it and uploading it to the website. That's a bit further down the track. We're only at session 1, first aid kits. So triangular bandage can be used as a pad to apply pressure to a wound. It can then be used to wrap around the wound. It can then be used as a sling when it comes to fractures, especially legs, where you're going to mobilize the legs by tying them together at knees and ankles, depending on the fracture. So lower leg, upper leg, yes, that's the shorthand method, is the 2 bandages. Same for neck or femur. Pelvis is not a leg injury, so it's not bandaged that way. Pelvis is a whole other story. But your triangular bandages are my product of choice, if I can use it that way. My equipment, my piece of equipment of choice. But I do love my roller bandages as well, so they're both important in a first aid kit. And some first aid kits, when you buy them, will only come with 1 or 2 triangular bandages. It's like multiple casualties at a road crash. You might have a broken arm over here and a broken leg over there. You're going to need more than 2 triangular bandages. So, and again, as I say, if you've got multiple triangular bandages, if not in your kit, in your supplies kit for when you get home, and you can restock. Okay. Okay, so we're talking broken bones, and there's some basic equipment for that. And when we do our session on broken bones and the management of fractures, there'll be padding that we need. There are formable splints that you can get that go under the arm. Newspapers, pretty good for that as well. The splints can be used between legs, so we'll get to that. That'll be in a later one. All right, so let's consider... and again, it also comes back to, where is your kit? Is it on your motorcycle and therefore it's small? You might only have 2 triangular bandages and not 4. Now, if the bleed is not a major bleed, then your non-stick dressings are good. I was going to show you those. I'll show you those afterwards. Non-stick dressings. Here we go. Non-stick dressings. So let's get these ones back up to go into here. And let's grab the non-stick dressings. Low adherent absorbent dressings. So they've changed what they call them now. They're non-adherent absorbent dressings. And that just means that when they get to hospital and they take it off, it doesn't take off the wound that was starting to heal because you'd applied that first, then the padding. So you can get them in a variety of sizes. This one is a 10 by 10 centimeters. This one's a 10 by 20 centimeters. So the next size up, you could say. There you go. And it's just if you've got time. There's another 10 by 10. If you've got time, if the blood is spurting out, pouring out, hands first, then just grab a pad and secure it on. This is more a laceration. If there's an object in the wound, like there's glass in the wound, the windscreen has shattered, whilst the glass is in, it's creating a plug, so it may not be bleeding profusely. It would probably be best to just leave that. Leave it for medical aid to take them out. If the casualty instinctively takes out something that's stuck in its arm, in its face, then you might have a bit more of a bleed, and then you could use probably a non-stick dressing. The combine dressing looks like And there's a big one. That's a universal large dressing. So it's a bit like a pad and a non-stick together. That one's quite large. You fold it up. And the size is 91 centimetres by 20 centimetres. It's sterile. They are sterile. What else have we got in here? Combine. So the combines are just a bit thicker, not greatly, but just a bit thicker than the non-stick dressings, and they can be folded to add extra pressure. But if it's a large bleed, you're probably going straight to the triangular bandage to apply pressure. Okay, so they're the non-stick dressings. Oh, whilst I'm thinking of it, because I'm not sure I've got it in the notes to mention later, so I'm going to mention it now because I saw it when I was going through the kit. Is there one in here? Okay, so you may be familiar with the wound. Oh, I have to take you up again. The wound dressing. They look like army issue. They probably were army issue. The wound dressing. So these wound dressings are good, but I'm going to show you what it actually looks like, because until you open it, you don't really know what they look like. Where is my wound dressing? There it is. This is my training kit. Okay, so they come really small, and then when they open up, they like expand. And what it is basically a roller bandage with a pad attached. So that will go on the casualty's wound. You've got that bit to tie off, that bit to roll around to secure it, and then bingo, all in one. So that's what those little wound dressings, if you ever see those, see those in your kits. They look like not much, but they're very compacted and they open up to this sort of size. And they only come in like sizes 13, 14, 15, whatever that means. There's not a great deal of difference in them. I don't remember what size that one was when I opened it many moons ago. But that's what a wound dressing looks like, if you were ever curious. So that lives in there, and that lives in there. All right. Combine. All right. I'm going to mention it now, and that is the yellow waste bag. Right. So let's say you've made you've used bandages and they've come off for some reason. Maybe they weren't on well enough, and there's blood, those sorts of things. The yellow bags are the hazard bags for waste. These are the commonly hospital medical type waste. Now, you don't need to go that specific. You can just buy some yellow rubbish bin bags, and you know that the yellow, that's your yellow waste bags. Probably just tear off a couple, put them in the snack pack lunch bags, and put them in your kit, and you've got those to throw any biological hazard, it's called. So anything that's got blood or vomit or anything over it. What I would do with that then is make sure it goes with the ambulance and the casualty. So for instance, if it's blood, then they get a sense of how much blood the person has lost when they get to hospital, if they've got the bandages that have got the blood and so forth on it. It's not that you're giving them your picnic rubbish, you're just giving them medical waste type hazard. Okay, so I'll probably get that in my notes again when I come up with it, but I saw that in there and just wanted to mention that there. All right, let's see, what else have we got to go through? Oh, and it falls onto the floor. Let's look at gravel rash just for a minute. Now, it's also known as an abrasion. If you don't know a gravel rash, it's also called an abrasion. So it's those little bleeds, because it takes the surface of the skin, capillary bleeds, lots of dirt embedded in them. These are not life-threatening conditions in terms of blood loss. Infection is probably more so the issue. Your motorcyclist who's not wearing leathers and comes off the bike and skids across the road is going to be full of gravel rash. But I wouldn't even bother cleaning them out. You've got other things to consider in a motorcyclist coming off their bike in terms of spinal and head injuries. So not to worry about it. Paramedics probably wouldn't even worry about it. They get the luxury of giving some pain relief medication, but they'd be leaving the cleaning for the hospital because then it can be done in a sterile environment, which is more so the issue. But let's just say you've gone camping and your kid's been riding on the push bike and they've fallen off and grazed their knee. Okay, so this is where we can talk about cleaning out the abrasion or the graze. So you'll need your gloves. Now, some of you might say, oh, there it is on the floor. Some of you might say, but they're my kid, I'm not fussed about gloves. No, well, it's not about you, it's about the kid and potential infection. So, you know, wear gloves, keeps them clean as well. Saline. If you've got saline or water, here we go, I've got little, you can get those in little bottles of saline, or if you've ever had contact lenses, you can buy them in 500ml bottles, but they do have an expiry date, so you don't want to stock up too much on the saline. They also won't fare well in a car over a long period of time if the car's exposed to heat. Got an example of gloves with that I'll run through with you. Saline or clean water. This is probably not enough to treat a grazed knee. You probably need 2 or 3 of these, so clean water might be the way to go. I wouldn't even consider Dettol. If you're committed to using something like Dettol or an antiseptic, make sure you read the instructions and dilute it appropriately, because it's really good for killing germs, but it'll kill cells as well. And if you don't dilute it appropriately, then you'll be causing more harm to that part of the body that you're treating, given that it's already compromised in terms that it's injured. So if you're going to commit yourself to using an antiseptic, make sure you dilute it appropriately. Don't put it straight on. The screams of the child of the undiluted Dettol, some of you might even have in your memories if your parents were looking after you in that way. Now, what you're going to wipe it with is gauze swabs. Now, gauze swabs, I wasn't sure how many come in a packet together, but I read this one says 3. 3 75 by 75 centimeters. No, 7.5, because that's not 7.5 by 7.5. Now, this is the woven material that comes. Now, there's only 3 in a bag. Now, I'm not sure if all bags have only 3, but this particular one, this one's 3 gauze swabs. 5, you can get 5 in those gauze swabs. There's St. John ones. Let's give St. John a plug. Get 5 in a packet there. 5 swabs and 3. So 7.5 by 7.5. They come, oh no, they're all 7.5 by 7.5. Yep. Okay, now if you're going to clean, let's say your kid's fallen over, grazed their knees, so the way you would do it is wet one of these. They come in 3s. So 1, so you got your gloves on. 1, you might have to fold it a bit, wet it with the saline or the water, and you're going to start down the outside of the wound and then throw it out. So that's why you need your yellow hazard bag. So 1 sweep on the outside of the wound, throw it out, get another clean one, get a clean one. On the other side of the wound, throw it out. And because in doing that, you've now pushed the dirt to the center, you grab a 3rd one down the center of the wound and then chuck it out. Now, it's probably going to take 2 or 3 go-overs if you've ever had a good bit of gravel in your skin. So having a number of gauze swabs on standby is always a good thing. Don't rub it like this. Besides making the kids scream really loud, or even the adults scream really loud, you're only putting the dirt in, taking it in, out. Forget that. Just 1 swipe, chuck. 1 swipe, chuck. Alright, then you'd cover it with a non-stick dressing, those little ones, the very thin ones, non-stick, and then lightly cover it. You don't want to tighten it because it's not going to bleed profusely. It's a capillary bleed, so it just needs to be covered to have the potential of infection keeping out. Alright, good. So that's really your bare bones of your first aid kit. I mentioned Band-Aids earlier, and that non-allergenic tape. I actually had a carpet burn the other day, kneeling down doing resuscitation for a bit too long, and my leg rubbed on the trousers and the carpet. So I had the non-stick dressing and this tape, you know, this Micropore, I think they call it Micropore. Is it called Micropore? Surgical. This one's called surgical tape. And it expired a while ago. Didn't know tape would expire. But so that's the tape. I just then taped that onto my leg. So that's something else. Resuscitation mask. Now, oh, I didn't mention with the gloves. I used to carry one of those little face masks on my keys. Now, those little face masks. They used to be, and they're just a sheet of plastic with a little gauze in the middle. When you're doing resuscitation in your first aid classes, probably had those, so you can tell that's been around the traps for a long time. It's like 20 plus years. Gloves. Now, some people say, well, they used to say in my first aid classes, but I don't have gloves on me. Well, get gloves on you. So I have this little pouch, and in my little pouch, which is attached to my house keys, I have a few pairs of gloves. I rolled them all up, so I've got more than one pair in there. Probably 2 or 3 pairs in there of gloves in a little pouch. You can buy those $2 shops. You can buy some sort of little pouch, attach it to your keys, and then you've got it available for when you need to have gloves, as you know, before you get to your first aid kit. All right. So, resus mask, that's what I was talking about. Here we go. So, once you've learned some resuscitation, you probably would prefer one of these face masks. So this one's a bit discoloured because it's old. I have recently washed it, but you can tell it's changed colour a little bit. It comes with the mask and a little one-way valve, and they just slot together. Squeeze it in. And that's your resus mask for the resus mask. So that's where you'd place it on your casualty's face, and you'd be blowing through there, which creates a one-way valve if you do need to resuscitate somebody. So that's also good to have in your first aid kit. All right, I'm going to open up the kit and have a look and see what else. Let's open this one up and have a look and see what else you've got. Little family kit. Scissors. So you'll find first aid kits will often come with a pair of scissors or shears. Cutting clothing, if you need to access the body to cut the clothing, you could use the shears for that. The only other thing I've used them for is, you know, those band-aids that come on a roll and then you can cut them to size. That's always good. But clothing or your kit. Safety pins. Now, because I'm a pedantic about triangular bandages and slings, I never do the twist and tuck method on the elbow. I like my safety pins. So having some safety pins available. I tell you when else safety pins in the first aid kit have been good. It's when my elastic's gone in my trousers and I'm out on the road. Safety pins are good to have in your first aid kit there. Useful. Notepad and pen. I saw that somewhere down the bottom right there. There we go. Little notepad and pen in case you need to write something down to send. Well, these days you don't have to send them. Everybody's got a mobile phone. If you're out of mobile phone range and have to climb the little hill and stand on one leg and point to the sun, then you might need to write some notes down. So a little pen and paper notepad is useful in a first aid kit. Let's see what else. We talked about the yellow bags. That's where the yellow bags come in. Anything else in there? There's a nice packet of bandages I've got. I ran through those with you. That's the other Micropore. Zinc oxide adhesive tape. And the other thing I forgot to mention is your good old thermal accident blanket. Sorry, show you first. Thermal accident blanket, which is just like a piece of aluminium alfoil. Might be a little bit tougher than aluminium foil. The last first aid course I did, the only really good thing in that course was that he pulled out these blankets. And we were in a scout hall and it was winter, but it was, it was good to see one open, because you never want to open it unless you need to use it. So exposure. Your casualty being exposed to the weather is also something that's not good for their health. And so having something like that in your kit. Okay, what else? Now you might get one of those kits that have those little alcoholic wipes. Okay, there's these little, they're smaller than a KFC wipe for your hands. Like at least a KFC wipe you can wipe your hands with. This is so small. I don't know if these are just one of the things they put in first aid kits to fatten them out. But the only thing you would use, because you wouldn't use it on a casualty with a wound because it's alcoholic. So that would only cause more pain. You could use it to wipe your hands. But I would suggest you go to KFC a few times and stack up on those. Or you can buy, I used to have them in my handbag, the handy wipes in the baby section of the supermarket. So these are like fillers. They don't really do a great deal. We do get splinter probes in kits. Unless you've been trained to use a splinter probe, I wouldn't be letting anybody near a sharp like that. You can cause more damage. So have a look through your first aid kit if you're buying one ready-made to see whether it's got the bare minimum and if you need to add more to it and what you might do. Now just as a closing, because I forgot to mention cling wrap, or you might know it as glad wrap or plastic wrap or something. Now I was looking for it to come in a shorter one and I couldn't find it in a shorter one, so this might not fit into your first aid kit but might be useful as an extra where you put your blankets and all those things. Now what do we use cling wrap for? So this is a more recent, maybe 20 years, but certainly when I was doing first aid last century, we weren't carrying cling wrap in our first aid kits. Burns, and you could possibly think bleeds as well, but burns, after you've watered a burn for 20 minutes, you want to cover it with and you won't wrap it around like it's a bread roll. You'll put it in the other direction so it just sits over, because it's non-stick and it's light, and then you can lightly bandage the area to stop infection from getting in. But cling wrap is the new go-to for burn management after you've watered it, that is. And I say, don't wrap it around because you're now suffocating the wound. Just, put a piece, cut a bit off and just put it over the wound, over the burn, and then lightly dress it with your roller bandage or your triangular bandage. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to cover with you. You're now on your way to being a prepared bystander at a road crash with a kit, once you've got your kit together. By all means, purchase a ready-made kit and then see what's in it and what suits you. And if you need to add more to it, then do that, okay? Because it's really just the bare bones is what will come with the kit. Now, if you've got any questions about first aid kits or about the prepared bystanders, you can email me directly. It's Sophia, SOPHIA, at thepreparedbystanders.au, or you could go on the website www.thepreparedbystanders.au and go to the contacts page and send me a message that way. And please note, it's not a .com.au, it's just a .au, thepreparedbystanders.au. Until next session, be prepared.